daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
If you
Did you catch it? Huh? Welcome everybody. One of our cats got a little mouse and ate a good portion of it. Smokey! Meow.
Hi, honey.
Meow. Welcome everybody. Today is
January 28th? 29th?
something like that. Saturday?
Saturday.
A freaking...
It is the 29th.
29th. It's freaking cold as the dickens out last night. We made it down to 14-ish. Did everything we could to keep the heat going in the greenhouse, and actually we were going to be out here earlier, but it was so blustery.
It was too cold.
And we said...
yeah, I'm from Wyoming, but it's too cold.
There was the wind. Anyway, now that it's kind of warmed up.
Kinda.
Hello, Shadow. Hello, Mittens. We thought we'd start in on our next project. So, let's see here. We're going to build another one of these. And since, again, use that same old excuse, gives me the opportunity to do it all over again. The old channel got taken down, and so we're going to do it here on Heritage Homestead Creations channel. And we got to build another hot water solar panel for our lower cabin down there. And you can see we got some winterization stuff here that's kind of hodgepodge. We're going to clean that up at some point, but the idea is this: we want another solar hot water panel for that cabin, and we're going to go through what we did to build and make that panel so that you can know how to do one as well. And they're fairly easy, so this should be probably a two-parter. We're going to do one part with the box, maybe a three-parter. One part with the box to build the frame and all, then one part with the piping. That'll be another day. Show you how we put the piping together. It's very easy. And then, you know, probably the assembly of it all in a third part maybe. So we'll talk about the aspects of it and what we got to do on this. You can see how it's tied in. I won't go through the full... there's Midnight. Boy, he's dirty. Rolling around out there in the dirt. You can see the tie-ins up here and down here. There are some things that we have to learn about them and how they work and why and such, and what we're gonna try and do a little differently on what we've learned on this one to what we do and how we mount and put the panel in on that lower cabin down there. But the concept is the same, so let's get started. We'll work on the box and let's show you what we have for that. Let's take a look at the first item that we have up for bids on the Price is Right today. And I joke about that because this is a sliding glass door that we got at a local home center, building supply home center. And there goes the Mittens. And well, we got it fairly cheap. I don't remember how much it was I paid for it. It wasn't much, 40, 50 bucks, I don't think. The reason was because the whole unit was defective in some way, and so they had this piece here that was available, and they needed to get rid of it, or they wanted to get a little bit of currency for it, so they sold it cheap. So that's the first item, and it's a dual panel, dual glazed panel, and you can see the caulking in between the two panels. Let's see that a little bit better. That one was a dual sheet as well, but you could,
Double pane, yeah.
those of you who've seen, I kind of broke the interior glass because I did something stupid. Yeah, don't laugh. But it was my fault. All right, so in learning how to deal with the cold situation, I drained the water out of the panel because it gets very cold at night. That's why you see the insulation on the pipes that we have there. Like I said, we won't get into the full operations, but why we do what we do. But essentially, we drained the panel and then forgot to cover it and keep the sun off of it because we were down here clearing that section down here that late fall. Yeah, it was late fall, early winter. It's maybe even December when we did that. And I left the panel off, and there is no doubt whatsoever that these panels heat water very well. That panel heats enough water for both of us to take showers and wash dishes every day. So if we have sun, beautiful sun like this, we get all the hot water we need with that, and we don't need to actually have a fire in the wood stove yet. We still do anyway.
We do because it's cold.
Yeah, so our first part is this one, and Price is Right. It was Price is Right for sure because it didn't cost us a whole lot to get it. Now, this is smaller, and see that panel, more square footage because it's actually 5 foot wide by 6 foot tall. This is 3 foot wide by 6 and change tall, and this will technically serve for a single person. The other cabin that we have down there has the same size, and it works really good for about that amount of water. So if you're going to build one of those, take that into consideration. Square footage is huge in the amount of energy that you collect is basically how many square feet of sun do you get, just like it is with the solar panels. And for the remainder part of the box, I've picked out. What are you doing, Smokey? He says, I'm checking it out, man. I've gotten some treated lumber, some 2x6s for this project, and then I've gotten two sheets of 7/16 OSB, and then one of these sheets of styrofoam. Now, this is an optional change. You can get different stuff for this, and I would recommend it, but I'm going to sandwich these boards for a reason. Now, let's discuss that as we talk about it. You have a dual pane here, and like I said, that is dual pane, even though it's cracked. That will collect an extraordinarily large amount of BTUs, of heat units, lots of heat units. And when I originally built that one, I put it was a 1 inch thick, it was a big 1 inch thick piece that I got behind it with the foil lined, with the foil facing out, and then I painted it black because I figured the foil would reflect the heat, and I had no inclinations that it was going to get as hot as it did.
What was it,
465 degrees? Yeah, well, we know it was at least that because as soon as we...
the styrofoam that we had on the side.
Yeah, as soon as we finished building that, and that was up in Montana, we had set it out for just a minute. I mean, it wasn't 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It wasn't that long.
Not long.
And because we had no water in the pipes to absorb it,
Not long.
the styrofoam itself, it melted, as T just stated. And so we only had one sheet backing it, and then a big thick piece of styrofoam to help hold the heat into the panel. Well, there you go. That's why I'm sandwiching it in here, and that's what we've done
On that one.
for that one over there to protect the styrofoam and insulate it. So the wood can actually handle a lot higher temperature. It it will get hot and it will burn, but at 500 degrees, it's not going to ignite. I mean, it's getting close, but it's not going to ignite. And as long as you keep water in it, in the pipes, then you have a place for the heat to go, and the temperatures aren't going to get quite as high. It looks like we got 3 helpers. The 4th one is around here somewhere.
Oh, they're sniffing at that
Yeah, we've had
unwanted visitor.
another cat has come in and decided to mark some things. So, all right, so that's kind of the understanding. There's some processes or some how should I say it, management techniques that we go through to handle this extreme time of the year when the temperatures get pretty cold. But during the summer, it's not as big an issue because we're taking the heat and the hot water. But it's very, very efficient and very effective, much more so than the solar panels, because you're going directly for heat with the hot water versus trying to convert it into a different kind of energy with the solar panel. So there you go. We got those parts. We're going to have to cut shapes out of the door size shapes out of those boards, and the 2x6s, we're going to put rabbets in them and put them together. It's a fairly easy build, but the first thing we got to do is take this apart. So this might be challenging. We moved it around a couple of times, and this plastic kind of gave because it was so old, and I think we can just cut it. That's what we're going to see next. So wish us some luck on that. Let's see if we can't get this plastic off of it so that we can get the actual true dimension of the glass, because that's going to determine what all our dimensions are. Until we got that, we can't cut or make anything out of those boards. So let's get that taken care of real quick. We have a total of 34 13/16 by 73 13/16. And while she gives it a good scrubbing, I think we're going to shoot for a target of 34 7/8 and 73 7/8, which will give us just a little bit of room for our actual outside frame. So that's what we're going to end up cutting those boards at. And it looks like the seal on it was broken, so there is some moisture and stuff on the inside, but we're not going to really care about that because in the end, it's just about the heat that we essentially have the back panel and the front panels. That was quick and easy.
Captain, incoming message.
Okay, so we essentially have the back panels and the front panel. That's pretty easy, and they're all pretty much ready to go. What we're going to have to do now is work the that's 3/4 inches on that glass, and then we got 1 1/4 inch on the sandwich that we have here. So we got to get the table saw out, and we're going to run a rabbet on one side of each 2x4 and
2x6?
or 2x6, yes, correct. One side of each 2x6 of 3/4 and a 3/4 in, 3/4 down, 3/4 in, 1 1/4 down to get our rabbets. We'll get set up for that real quick. How do you turn this thing off? Hit the button. Oh, you. So let's take a quick look at something here on this solar panel with my devastatingly stupid broken glass. On this one, I actually did a dado for the glass to inset. Okay, I ran it all the way around the whole thing, dado, and that was not a bad idea. It's just that with it sitting tipped like this, you can tell by the dirt build up along the bottom is that water got to sit in there. Hey, Shadow. Meow. And you also notice I've already got some rot, and that's because, well, this was untreated wood for one. I thought paint would do it, but because I had it to where every time it rains water would sit here, it had to go in there. It soaked in there and it worked its way in, and eventually I'm gonna have to rebuild this, and in doing so I'm going to carefully try and protect the outside piece of glass, because it will work with just one pane of glass. It's not as efficient, and it will not hold the heat in the middle. Hey there, Mittens. It will not hold the heat in there in the middle of winter time like we have now. I think that broken glass still aids in holding the heat in. But as you see, I've got some rot in here. I'm not happy with that. I thought painting it and water sealing it would do it, but having this, I should have cut a little notch right here to allow water to drain out, maybe a couple of like weep channels, weep holes or something like that. And so that's why we're doing treated wood this go round. Still won't completely stop water damage, but we're going to do that. And on these, I did, in order to keep there from being a notch or a little channel right here, I went and did a rabbet on that. Not a rabbet, yeah, a rabbet on that. I'm not going to do that this time. The last panel I did for the other cabin down there, I just square butted it and held full thickness wood, and that's what we're going to do this time, and we're going to do a rabbet. So the reason being is because then I can have the glass sit flush with the edge of the board here, and thus with it sitting flush here, I can seal this up and have a flat surface, and I can get rid of this whole issue right here. The other panel does real well like that, so that's what we're going to do now. I've got the table saw set up. I'm waiting for the generator to warm up. I think we're going to go have lunch before we do this cut, but that's the next step, is to run these dados, or these rabbets, in the 2x6s that we got. So I think we'll go eat lunch first. Alright, yummy lunch, yummy lunch. It's a good thing I took a break to sit down and think about it, because I might have cut something wrong. Just before I went in, I marked my lengths here. I don't need to handle any more wood than I want to, so I want to take off the extended pieces. So let's talk about this for just a second. So these are 1.5 inches thick, and so I've got 73 7/8 is what I need for my length of the side. But if I want to extend my board up to meet the edge of the next board, I need to add 2 times that. So I've marked these right here at 76 7/8. And Sure, I got that one. And as you can see, just a hair, maybe a 64th longer. Always like it a little bit long. And then I marked these here at the same 34 and 7/8 plus just a hair. But I realized while I was sitting there eating our nice sandwich that we had, oh shucks, I got them measured wrong. Because if these panels are going to sit 3/4 of an inch in on either side, because of the rabbet that we're going to put on the corners, then I would be cutting these an inch and a half too long. 3/4, inch and a half. So I actually need to remark these. God, those guys are noisy. Pardon me. Roosters. They're only good for soup and making new chicks and procreations. So I got to remark these two. We're going to get them cut, and there's no need in having the extra material on here. We're going to cut them, and we'll start putting the rabbits in. So hang on, let's get going. Alright, so quick and simple as that. Minor adjustments for the fence and the depth for the different sides, but you can see I've got a 3/4 deep by inch and a quarter versus a 3/4 by 3/4 rabbets to accept the 3/4 thickness on the glass and the inch and a quarter of the sandwich board. So all we got to do is screw these together. Let's get that done real quick. We're going to do it right here on the floor.
it's where I want to be with you for the weekend. We walk for hours with no purpose, at least until our stomachs hurt us. You skip rocks across the river, I watch the waves upon the water. Oh, nothing too complex, just music and dancing every night. Oh, this is the meaning of my whole life. You wear a crown of flowers I found in my eyes, trace a flight of fantasy. Stoned from the sun, the wind gets us drunk. Oh, what a simple fantasy, but right now I don't care. In the country, it's where I want to be with you for the weekend. If we get a car, we can drive just as far as half a tank will allow. We can shoot at cans, go swimming in the dams. We can do whatever we want here any day in the country. That's where I want to be with you forever. Oh, we can do whatever that we choose. That's right now in my mind.
Alright, I know it's pretty simple, but that's pretty much going to be it for the part one. Yeah, I kind of got myself there on that. That's okay. You know, we kind of like the idea of feet. That means this gets this board up off of the deck or whatever. And I kind of like the idea of maybe cutting that at
A taper.
at an angle to.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we had a dead battery and had to go charge up for just to finish things up. Let's do a quick review. So the box is complete. While we were waiting for the battery to charge back up, we did a couple things. It was a mistake for this length. I guess I calculated it wrong by 1.5 inches because you got to think about the math, and I guess I didn't quite get there. But it left me with a little bit of long edge to it. You're going to have to determine these dimensions based on the size of the glass panel that you get for your box, and just make sure that you take into account. Fortunately for me, I tend to cut things long by accident. Don't often cut them short by accident, but there it is. So we're going to leave it because we were sitting there talking about potentially cutting an angle on this so that it could act as a foot and sit a little more level when we get it on the decking down in front of the cabin. We have temporarily, hello Miss Photo Bomber. Miss Photo Bomber, got to be in the middle of it. Come on, hop off. We have temporarily put some of this duct tape on it, some actual reflective duct tape. That's what we had available, just to kind of hold this glass in place, because we're just going to set this aside for the moment while we move on to part 2 of this video. And that's going to be, we've got the copper pipe and the pieces to build the manifold for the inside. We'll get to that here in the next episode, or the next part. So for now, the box is built. It's real simple. It wasn't that hard. You can see how the, come on in here real close, honey. You can see how the glass sits nice and flush with the top with the 3/4 offset. The OSB, as you can see me screwing it in, does the same thing on the other side, except for where the screws kind of squish the styrofoam. Keep in mind your substrate for the backing may vary. I think styrofoam is okay if you have something in front of it. That's why I sandwiched it in there. But be forewarned, even with the piping full of water inside the panel to absorb the heat, it was still more than the styrofoam could handle. And it, you know, once we got it set up here that first year, it still melted it. So it gets hot in these panels. This is not something you want to just sit out in the sun unless you have it working and flowing like we do. So there's cool water constantly trying to cool it off inside. So we still have to paint the box. We'll do that later, but for now we're going to keep it as a unit. It makes it a little easier to deal with, so we're going to set it aside. We'll have to get it painted. I don't recommend full-on black, but you can do that. That means it's going to really get hot. We put the dark green that we used on the house because we had the paint. It's dark. It does absorb heat, and it puts the heat out. And it kind of, we like the way it blends. It blends in. So, you know, you'll have to think about how you do that. Originally, I had done white paint on the outside wood to try and reflect heat off of the wood, and then painted everything black on the inside. And, you know, when we got it up there, it kind of stuck out. So, we're going to paint it the same color. You do what you want to. We got to get the manifold put together. That'll be part 2, and for that, it's pretty much done with the box part of it. After we get the manifold put together, then it'll be assembly of the whole thing. We might see if we can pick up some handle pieces, some handles.
That might not be a bad idea. Be easier to.
I don't remember doing it on the other one, but you said we.
I thought we did, but I don't remember now.
Or something to help you carry it, because it will get heavy. So there's other options and possibilities for that. So that's the end of part 1. We will catch you again on part 2.